Is that how you start?
Aye.
Should have had you
It's
a
a
clapperboard.
It is a clapperboard, Paul.
Is it?
That's just the. Aye, so we can sync them up.
It's a more expensive kind of clapperboard.
Aye. Is that you? You're on?
Neil, I'm tight. And,
Aye.
You're alright. Okay.
Rolling.
Well, both the ballers only started with the advent of a really fairman, when the fairman started. Again, as I was saying before, the laird at Money Musk was one of the most forward lairds there was, because he gave the rented farms to folk. It would look after 14 years for nothing if it brought in all the rough and big dikes, which he started them all off.
That was Grant.
Grant of Money Musk. And other farmers followed throughout the northeast. That's why it's like a garden or a place again in further south. For boys, Lord and West Highlands and that, they didn't bother. Never did nothing out guy. And the northeast is but once the farms were started, then they acquired men again. There's only run rig places up to then, and I've seen a friend there brought some of the old plans out. If it was happening 250 years ago, and it's just some roundabout it. The outside the fields wasn't touched because they were rough, you see, were all moss.
So, like, can you give us an example of kind of the older ballads, kind of the?
Well, I'll give Bonagini Bethany. Now, Bonagini was a daughter of the Viscount of Meldrum and Bethany. It was two big estates in their own, and he'd been in 5E Castle too, because there's a Meldrum, there's still a Meldrum Tower in 5E yet. It's a seating tower, well seating, took over the castle and the grounds and the estate. He bought the estate for that family of Meldrums. So he probably had Meldrum before that, but he sold 5E on the way. But there was still a Meldrum Tower here yet. And he was the Viscount, and then his daughter, she was 16, and she was a great favourite of Mary Queen of Scots. And he also built Meldrum Castle. Meldrum Castle was his name, you see, and he built the town of Meldrum, which probably a lot of thatched houses and that. He organised that as well. And he also had the Horn Castle, so he was a big landowner. And but he has only daughter, you see, and he must have resided at Bethany because there was a big house here at one time. It was nothing but the ruins now, Bethany House. I've been in it and seen all the place. It's a grand estate, beautiful land and everything, and well run, and but you didn't see much of the old house. So he must have resided there, you see. But when she get to this big soiree at Bankery for the lords and ladies get that, you see, and she saw this John Gordon of Glenlogie.
Glenlogie.
In far Glenlogie is, I'm not quite sure, but there's Logies, there's a lot of Logies, you see, there's
Logie of Buchan.
there is, and there's also Logie Dorna, which was a Roman camp, by the way.
Aye, well, that's for I think maybe the Battle of Mons Graupius was, didn't it?
Aye.
Fit Benahi.
Aye, and somebody wrote the paper the Leopard, saying that the camp at Dython at further up, up as Fork, Dython, Wales. Dython Stars. They're a big Roman camp. And I have all the drawings of it, when engineer 250 years ago. And this man dismissed all it. You see, he wrote to the Leopard and described all the Battle of Mons Graupius. And he said it was only a mere 30 acre at Denver, you see, so there's going to be much of a Roman establishment there. but I always put in the photograph, my drawing. This one, the leopard, they printed it. So it proved I'm wrong. Well, anyway, this is Bonagini. Bonagini was spear smitten, and he refused her. He says, oh no, I'm already promised, you see. It was, and he was so stricken that she lay down to die, you see. This is the story. So she got her own way. He took pity on her then. 9 and 9 nobles rode through Bankley Fair, and bonny Glenlogie's a pride that was there. 6 and 6 maidens dined in the King's Hall. Oh, bonny Jane of Athelney was the floor of the ma. Down come Jeannie Meldrum, oh, she come tripping downstairs, and she's chosen Glenlogie, and when all that was there, she called on his footboy that walked by his side, spearing, far is that young man, and far does he bide. Oh, his title Glenlogie, when he is at him, oh, he's o' the noble Gordons, Lord John is his name. Oh, Glenlogie, Glenlogie, if he should prove kind, oh, my love, it is laid on ye. Now I've made up my mind. I turned about lichtly as the Gordons they are. Thank you, Jeannie Meldrum, but I'm promised a war. She called on her handmaids to make her a bed, oh, hair ribbons and napkins to tie up her head. Oh, now lay me down gently, with my face to the wall, take a rings to my fingers, now my jewels and knob. Up spoke her father, a wayman was he, ach, I'll wad ye to Dunfermline, he's mair gowd than he. Na, na, dear father, oh, na, that winna do, if I canna get Glenlogie, for him I will dee. Her father's in chaplain, oh, a man no great skill, he wrote a braid letter, and a dighted it weel. Oh, pox on your logie, oh, must it be so, this lass has laid her loving ye, must she dee in her woe? When Glenlogie got a letter, a lichtlach gart he, but fin he read a letter, will a tear blend a zee. Oh, saddle my black horse, oh, saddle my brown, oh, bonny Jane Bethelney, I'll be deed ere I win. When I got to Bethelney, there was nothing there but a weeping and wailing, vexation and care. No pale and wan was she when Logie come in, but a red and rosy grew she when she kent it was him. Tarland around Jeannie Meldrum, Tarland your right side. Och, I'll play the bridegroom if he'll play the bride. No Jeannie got married, her talk her don't tell. Oh, bonny Jane Bethelney was 16-year-old. Bethelney, Bethelney, you shine for you stand, and the heather bells around ye shine on 5 land. Nu we said he'd marry at Dunfermline. What was Dunfermline about 5 Castle? He was titled Lord Seaton. There's a Seaton tower here yet. And he was also become a new title, Lord Fivey. And that was his Fivey top by that is running the same Seaton. Lord Fivey.
Aye. So, you diddle as well, don't you?
Oh, a wee bit, eh?
So, are you alright for tape?
Aye.
Okay. Aye, so you
Well,
you
it was
diddle.
just was this you would dance what do you call it, the jig time to this again. We got the dancing classes, of course. We had then early on when I was to school, it was sixpence a lesson. And Craigie'd bike it out 6 mile at night in the winter's night with no heat in, wouldn't need it, there was plenty of heat with dancing. And we did he also diddled the now, you see, but he played the fiddle in it till he was driven to desperation. Somebody died in right, we gave him a chop in the head, you know, and on again, come on. And otherwise, some of that lads come back every year, feet lads again, they'd boots like, they'd feet like paddocks, travelling in the horrors year after year, you know, but they enjoyed it. There's something to do it next. And it was a hell of a coins and lads, you know, it was just something to do. And he first took a diddle, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee-dum-do, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee-dum-do, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee-dum-do, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee-dum-do, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba-dee, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba, diddle-um-a-dee, diddle-um-a-diddle-um-a-daddy, oh, diddle-um-ba-dee. That's a kind of thing.
So you just if there was no instruments, you would use it.
Aye. In that laugh dance, you can't tell you the lads going to kind of tired out with playing and melodian all the time, and for else there wasn't much else. Yeah. The laugh dances was something. It was the second thing is safety and health at that time. You just get up the same stair, and some odd laughs, well, they held going, you see, which was that they just weren't off a great a lot of them. And this nails, slate nails, you didn't go on the other side and jump. It was all right in the middle, but if you get to the side, the slate nails all the way up. You can
Skin your head.
Oh, yeah, nail linings, you see. But only feel like a bit hit, all right.
And would that have been something that was kind of once the hearst was done, or would they do it kind of all through the year?
I've seen through the summertime. For just about these, it was the end of Fiddler match, and they decided the Metlick won the cup, you see. But it was already planned. If they didn't win the cup, they just did it was either prominent players, Firms, Newton. And there's a couple of titles I'd gone as a guest, they're all the way back to Newton's, all there. And he held it in his loft. But I've seen held at the tail of Hearst, but this when I folk again. Just invited the firm workers in the lasses did the invitations, and they just invited folk at the winter, so it wasn't a big, and the farmer supplied the farmer's wife supplied the means, you see, hens maybe, only it in Jock state, and plenty of other scones and bonnocks and things, and they supplied that, you see.
Would that had whiskey or anything like that? Like that?
But of course meal and ale, you see they made meal and ale. The meal and ale was fit to held to celebrate Hearst, and not ingredients was well, it was they put in the mashed barley in a big basin and let it steep for near a week till it's fermented. They poured out the contents, and then they boiled that, and they poured in, let it cool. They poured in anything was going stout whiskey, anything was going was poured in. And then oatmeal was stirred, you see, when they boiled it. So it was very potent. And the last time I had tasted it, it was nothing like the original. And that was the meal and ale in Aberdeen for us invited up to sing. It was nothing like original.
Was it no strong, or was it just no the same taste about it?
No strength, no. But it was a good in. I was invited up to sing at Pit Maiden Gardens at the end of their season when they sailed all their way, and they had a big huge tent up, and there was folk coming from all over the place, And Tom Reid, it was invited me, and he had a fair concert party. And Tom Reid kept singing Mayor, you see. It wasn't bad. And then he made out, I put my seat down there, and I fell over the stage, well, it was on the grass, you see. Like, just that fell over. And he says, this man is naked in name here, this was me, this was Tom, typical Tom. This man's naked in name here, but he gave the rest of me. Tom could drink and never can the ounces. But it was fine, it was good. It was nearly as good, not quite. But Sowens was hell and all. Oh, with Sowens, my mother made Sowens to all me, and I didn't like him.
Well, I can mind my granny mucking Sowens to
Oh,
me. I didn't care for him at
No.
all. I just about couch.
Well, it was the seeds of the what's you can, the husks that they were made with. They were steeped for days in a big half barrel can. They were steeped there, and then the contents poured out, and you had when they were boiled, you could add sugar, you see, or anything else. But when they were boiled, they come out thick like plaster. They say thick, like, but they come out with thick gruel kind of material, and they're settled in the plate, jellied in the plate, and this is what you take. And you either ate them cold or hate or cold, the word of Guido, I didn't like him. You could took him out cakes.
Oh, I didn't like
But that was the way to mock him.
But you wouldn't get one up, you would have a meal and ale nowadays. Really, would you?
Only the certain there's a bucking club, is near Aberdeen, how's it? Is it fit the card again? They had in. But there's nobody can mock it, you see. But
Could you mock it though?
oh, I could mock it all right.
You'll need to tuck on an apprentice to show them the art.
But fast with the data, that's the trouble.
No, I've never had it, so I'm
Well,
a bit like it.
I can't see it mock it, you see. That's the way it was made. You could, after a few days, the poured out this material, it was just like coloured water, dirty water. And when you boiled that, you see, it thickened.
Aye, the water did.
Aye.
So
It thickened, you see, because this material was a mud. When you come to boil it, it thickened. So that's when they put in sugar. They sweetened a bit, yeah. But even though, no.
And did you drink it in a...
No, you sup it in a spoon.
Oh, with
The
a
same
spoon.
sup and porridge.
Okay.
But they had meal and ale, no, you drank it, you see. It was a cousin, a far off cousin, really. But that man was quite good. Especially if Tom was demanding more. He was one of the greatest characters I've ever seen, Tom.
But he's been a few years ago now.
Aye. He was about 4 or 5 years younger than me. I was surprised that he went so quick, but he started instead of having a dog, he tried to do a sheep bit himself, you see. It was nice. That's what killed him. He fell over trying to keep sheep. Anyway, this our songs is a great thing. It was fine, a fine fortnight to meet a lot of good characters in my young day, and one of them was John Strachan. And I sang with John as a boy of 14 at some of his concerts. Now, John Strachan was farmer at Creehey of Ivy, and he was a bit of a character. He was a hell of a character. He could play with a concertina sitting in a stoolie, the WRI, who's great demand, and he would have done, unless you stopped him, he'd have carried on for 12 hours non-stop, getting song after song. Again, like, he'd sung Quentin's, how did that go west again? I'll maybe mind a minute. I'll maybe mind a minute. He also held the BBC Aberdeen was keen for him to do a broadcast for Ivy, for the place, you see. And he did that, and it was in 1938, New Year's Day, and I mind listening, because we'd got a wireless, we didn't have one of our own, I was 14, and we got a listen and at the shoppy, and I heard it, and it was, he'd John Mearns, another grand, fine singer, and Monroe was a great baritone, and Grace Leslie was a teacher in 5A, infant teacher, and she was a lovely singer. And a cousin of mine, he was a year older than me only, he 2 years older than me, he was about 15, and he sang, he had a lovely voice at that time, he did, I was only 10 years as I this foul have been, and another good song, The Lothian Hearst. Again, August 12th, Aberdeen, we sailed upon the Prince and landed up at Culliver's shores. And it was the Hearst lads from D-side and Donside it went down to the Lothians because they were 3 weeks earlier than and they could down here to Hearst in the Lothian. One in Australia and one in Canada. And they got contactors right Aberdeen. They contacted all them and they were using about the different farms for the activities that were happening at the time. And then John got a great demonstration, and one of his songs he says was Rainy. And I took another notion to Rainy. And if there's only tape left, I'll sing it to you.
You've got 3 minutes.
At Rainy I sheared my first Hearst, down by the Fiddler Binny. My master there was all too fit, but laith was I to lose my fee. Lent an hour and a day, lent an hour and a day. Rainy's work is all to work, and Rainy's wages is but sma'. Rainy's laws are double strict, and that's that grieves my worst of all. Lent an hour and a day, lent an hour and a day. Rainy is a calcly hole, it's kneaded like my father's stone. Rainy is a hungry place, it doesn't suit a land alone. Lent an hour and a day, lent an hour and a day. Sarah focht and Sarah vrocht, until I won my penny fee. And I'll gang back to the yet I come, and a better bairnie I will be. Lent an hour and a day, lent an hour and a day. That's his song he sung on. He just loved it. But us young folk, we was more breaks, they took doing us to participate in a concert at 5E, and we were practiced in the school, you see. And Grace Leslie was conducting, and the vet's daughter was a great musician. Miss Joyce, a tremendous musician on the piano, and she was all, no, the timing's all wrong, but never mind the timing, this will suit me fine. He was, didn't know why, and he was, what the hell song was that? I've forgotten that song. Shouldn't forget it either. Oh no, that was
that's is that the Barnyards of Delgety? It's the same tune, isn't it?
Oh, well,
Or near.
it's a predecessor, I think.
You think it's older than the Barnyards?
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye. Barnyards is quite old, I assume.
Oh. Is that you lads?
Aye, we'll cut for a second, Paul, I think. Aye,
That's a good time.
running the tapes there.
Just do it. Use tapes.
Change
But
tapes.
head on to that Barnyards of Delgety.
I've got that. Very good.
This would be just about
Second,
giving
think
you
about that's it, right.
whether you did a lot of the stuff that you can. Is this a material that you learnt through hearing other folks singing it, or have you learnt a lot of
You
stuff?
learn when you're a bairn, when you get a while, like a Jock Duncan and all them, you can. you learned as a bairn, before you, the wireless command said just go next to that. Yeah. Because it was a year, for me in fact it was better because it was more singers. And look at all that collection that Gavin Gregg got.
By the Greg Duncan
Oh.
collection.
And one of them was that song at Johnny Murrison's song. They won
Well, that was
the Cup at Elgin.
last year,
I
was
liked
it?
it so well as I got the first prize. It was it again. Oh boy, it was what that it was again. I'll wait a minute. At Bertimus there, I get to the fair. The view the bonny lassies and snuff the fresh air. I met in with money to cost their pair. And all Johnny Bruce of the fornet. First that when I get home to old John Bruce, he bides on a skin in a blue splitted house. So keen at the fair, but they look at said doos. When I won him to the fornet. The first Sunday morning, our tempers to tease, would come old Johnny, we are flagging our grease. Declared our horses' legs for the creats to the knees, for the raw cripple nags at the fornet. Here's to the grieve of Connie Allman, he'll neither swear nor curse nor ban. There's nae an yoke the devil in him, for all Johnny Bruce of the fornet. Here's to the foreman, he comes Sybil Hwine. His name is McGilvery, he's brocht on the line. He mates his horse wheel and he hodds on it twine. For the works a hen at the fornet. Here's to a second, a sturdy young chiel. He kens his work and he does it recht weel. But he was the long hame when the lad thought he'd heal. For old Johnny Bruce of the fornet. Here's the third, a rant and a reel. A bit of a poet some have a feel. But the lassies from the boatman they like him so well. He'll soon get a whop in the fornet. Here's to the Bailey, a sturdy young chiel. No, I can't mind the Bailey. Here's to a Bailey, a rant and a reel. A bit of a poet some have a feel. No, I do not. Here's to the daughter, the floor of the glen. Oh, she plays the piano and files rants of the men. Now she runs through the close to be keep it again by the bra lads of the fornet. On the Sunday morning, at Kirk and Sunday, she wears a white veil. 2 years were going to hinner this trail. Her hair is tied up like a young fellow's tail, out to cheer him all the lads of the fornet. The winter it was bad, the hairst it was late, but a Sunday morning a rookie we laid. The rest of the day no we laid with bed, and we prayed for our sins at the fornet. I forgot that last day. It doesn't matter. That's it. You know, it was in Gavin Gregg collection. And Gavin Gregg come and collected a man, Johnny Spence. He was never married. He was quite an old man at that time, but he get enough of songs. It was about a mile and a half before I was brought up at Fodden Hill. And he was well came from the boat. And it was before my time, of course. But I heard about it for folk. It used to tell me about him. And there's nothing but a record of stories for his wee crofty is now. And he got a lot of songs off him. And they say, there's one story, Gavin had a lantern, you see. He had on the gas lamps it was, on his bike. And he would at that time of day, you accompanied every visitor that come to the place. You accompanied him at least half a mile for the place. dark or daylight. It was a habit at folk had. The male companion always, there was a male person always accompanied him half a mile. And of course we're going on with songs all the time, and somebody said these sit down in a one bush, and the wind was blowing, you see, and Gavin back at 8 Mile to that place, face place at Fine Hill in Udea. He's headmaster here. And he back at 8 Mile, but he was there with it, and this was one of his songs. It collected of a Johnny, whether it was the one in the bush, I don't know, but it got his bike with his peaky lump again. It was a hell of a thing to keep going at gas lumps and in my hand once. My first motorbike. The Piat at this paper, he seen the road down. He was quick at the notation, you see, the songs and the words and all. And that appeared in Gavin Great collection of a Johnny Spitz.
How many?
The bra lads of the fortnight. I couldn't have made all the words, he was good to sing it for us.
How many songs do you think you would ken yourself if you were to?
Well, if you could rake them up, it'd possibly be 100, that would be my stretch.
And was that all stuff that you learnt when you were young, or have
Most
you been picking up stuff as
you pick up as you go along, but that was mostly in the young day. And the great composers, of course, was Gavin Gregg, was great George Morris, remarkable man, He began showing horses in Aberdeen as an apprenticeship in Aberdeen, and he at that time Aberdeen blacksmiths only did horseshoes. They didn't do everything like outside the blacksmiths in the country. They did everything. It made ploughs, they made everything, but it was all down horses, 4 trams, you see. There was everything was pulled horses and fancy horses and Schultz evermore, and that's where he learned his trade. Before he landed up at Meldrum and married Morris's, another great composer, Willie Kemp. He married his sister, and that two competed in singing for years and years against another in the Strove. Because one composed the Muckle Johnny's Bayer. The one that sang mostly is George Morris, but he could do the Beltona and did it in the 30s, you see, the Muckle Johnny's Bayer, and he also knew Willie Kemp was going to do it now, because he was doing Beltona now. Of course, Willie Kemp changed a lot of his songs and spelled it. Again, like the Lungs of 5e, Bedimenti Lowlands of 5e. L-E-W-S, was I Lungs of 5e, it's not in the map yet. But he painted Lowlands of 5e, which I hate to hear song.
Was he trying to make it more accessible to an English-speaking audience? Do you think?
And again, it was just that he changed them about and sounded alright, so as they be worried. But that too, were at loggerheads the whole time, and when Thompson and Judea died at 50-year-old in 1914, that was a remarkable man. He was a great pianist, musician, sonny chemist, and his downfall was he was a student medicine, and he was in his 4th year, and in his stories the local stiltman long ago before he died off, that he got a suit made with tailor. This was a tailor's apprentice at Tiltman. He got a suit made without pockets, because he got a hell of a dressing down for one of the sergeants that he was opening his hands in his pockets, you see. So, on the way, 4 years he dropped out, and he was grabbing opium off his father's chemist shop and and all that kind of stuff. You hear all that kind of things. On the way, he died, and he used to go to how there was a hotel down here and play the piano, and he composed a song, composed it that I wrote it down and handed it out to one of the the corset, the female or whatever. Hundreds of songs, but he never, and Gavin Grigg was only had got a few of them because he was sentenced to jail or a pound fine. Jail for 3 days or a pound fine in Aberdeen as George Dobson. And he got down with train for Maud and got him out. And he says, no, he must. He paid his fine and he got him back to Maud and home to New Deer. And he says, you must give me all your songs. So Gavin Grigg got 5 in the end, but so I managed to rescue. And then was my favourite, the Tarland Looney. Yeah.
Aye, do you guess a wee bit of it?
When I was a little wee Tarland Looney, when I was a little wee Tarland Looney, I could sell a little jockey. And dacht I was sitting in my granny's windowsill, eating sweeties in a broom paper piokie. By come a lassie, as you want me a kiss. I think I would never think of scoring. But she bottled my sweeties down my head through the window and my granny till me that this morning. Oh, never tie a kettle till a big dog's tail, not talk and drink a water out a bucket or a pail, for it's plain to understand as a bobby for a bop, that the readest chicken temples are good at the top. A laddie's would snuff in his all granny's day, but he drunk it up himself for he noticed, so they say. But I'll watch out up his hip now, they would saw come in, the neck and never to get worse this all again. It's a sair thing, love, and it hits in the waistcoat when you think you're getting on so fine, man. But oh, honoree, they think out you've been courting another man's lassie all the time, man. Love is like a jump covered with sugar, and another lad changes it to Zurich's all together. For it's on his side like a handle of a jug in a skull early in the morning. If you ever get a smack with Cubick's little Laura, it's like hurling in a perambulator down the hill of Barra. And if she wanna hay, it's like lying on a rock with 1,000 Maggie money feet a crawling down your back. It's how the best sheep gets moored among the snow. When you're fishing, it's the best through the day, once a wop. But if you see a lassie that you'd think you'd like to pet, well, it's just the very one you may be sure you wanna get. Oh, it's what the ball and they all do a ribble and they never saw some money daddies. Yuck, up the arena man, marmalade and treacle, I was happy as a craw among the daddies. Big lassies, small lassies, short lassies, tall lassies. Oh, can a lassies for to blinny, but the floor of the ma was little Polly Proctor, a lassie I was forced to leave behind me. For a inch went to my aunties, we a bag of yellow hoddicks. They had their loonies leathered me and filled the bag with paddocks. It was sair to thole with say without a doubt, but this time I thought I would greet he could. For Polly said she'd marry me and ended her body. But when I kissed Polly, well, she didn't gie a cheep. I know she's run away with a lantern shaft at Sojer, with a face that was as yellow as a bile Swedish nip. Oh, you never saw a wrinkle like my old horse Dubin. You could hang up your jacket on his hardies. He was broken in the wind, and when he began to run, he made a rocket like a dozen hurdy-gurdies. I took him to the market and I swapped it for a balaclava charger for the Southman, but I didn't want to block an ale, though I was unca dry for fear they might be finding out the truth, man. For here I thought I'd really need a smear track, though, but sick of coping out a dilly I never did expect. For a freezy old money with a roly-poly fish, say, like a gingerbread rabbity with a clouty round its neck. I took him to the market and I swapped, do you see, my ain horse Dubin that was blind upon A.E. I come home from the market just as drouthy as a saith, with a fiddly the jigger that was blind upon in bed. I swapped his horse. It was only one eye, get the sail, but he thought he would swap it with his balaclava charger, like, well, you're looking back in the Boer War there, you see. The Boer War, the Crimean War. And he would thought he was got a great deal, he got an ass horse for us, he thought the lad had, with the little money with the round face, he got a better off, he got away with his horse into the one blind eye. He could do one with 2 black dogs. A good story, that's kind of thing. That famous George Thompson in Judea. His graves lies near far to the gate, as notice I was doing see you.
Is that your favourite? Do you say that was your favourite?
He was one of my favourites. Well, his songs, like you see, died in 1940. Before, well, I was born in 1925.
Have you got a favourite? Well, whether it's a bothy ballad or kind of the older ballads.
I had a favourites, no.
No.
Don't think so. But I like to sing the big songs again. And the like a not Aberdeenshire especially, like a hard law and songs like that and what you got out there in Johnny Bresley. That was collected we Robert Lewis. No.
Robert Burns?
No.
Robert Louis
The border man. What's his name again?
Oh, Walter Scott.
Aye, Walter Scott. He collected over 300 songs for the North East. And that was included. And they become border songs. And I sang Johnny Bresley doing at Whitby. It was with the Northumberland boys singing with the embassy. And they're great musicians. They're Bristol musicians. And I says, they said I stealing in of their songs. I said, nothing they can. Fit why did they bury him at the Fitty card again, the Grant, the Money Bosk. Fit why did they bury him at Money Bosk if he was in the borders?
That's right.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that's so. I like to sing it against, especially Aberdeenshireans.
Aye, it was Scott's. Was it his border minstrelsy or something like that?
It was the R after the weekend.
I'd heard he was a wee bit guilty about that later on in life, even though.
Collected songs, but he collected a lot of border songs as well, of course, and English songs. And many of the Gnower, they were kind of universal. You got snatches the same song in America and all over the place, and especially in Europe. Same kind of stories.
Aye. Well, you guess what any of the big ones just to finish up maybe?
Well, think about the hard law then.
Aye, oh that's a good one.
Yes, we're dominates the tales about hard law and that the songs now through the fact of course because Lord Donald Dales got him, he was touched and it says there was no one left, but there was a good lot left. According to the historians, you see, it only lasted briefly. If it was an hour and a half, it was a long fight. And they did a war. Again, Dr. What the hell's his name again? He sends me his latest facts and findings, and he says they fell out in the northeasters get round the back and fell out them in the women's camp and killed all them before morning. And they put up there was a plaque, there was a thing, a bleachgrinder, a wee statue put up and a side hard law there at St. Grounds is all that grounds of course is what is the name of that firm again. I'm forgetting the name, but I was recorded here with cabras, and you know this the cats, the buck cats of that boy was get by every 20 minutes. Donadeer. As I come in by Donadeer and done by Nether Hog, us a 50,000 Highlanders get marching by her la ho, a dermadoo a daddy-o, a dermadoo a day. As I came on and Farron and Dun and Bible Wine, 'twas there I met Sir James the Rose with him, Sir John the Graham. Oh, a dermadoo a daddy-o, a dermadoo a day. Oh, did ye come fae MacDonald's men, and did ye their number see, and war ye near and youch, but meth their number be. Oh, a dermadoo a daddy-o, a dermadoo a day. I was near and youch, and I their number saw. There's 50,000 Highlanders a marching to Harlaw. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. If that be so, said John, says James the Rose will make a muckle speed. I'll hit it till my gallant men do the turn their horses' head. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. Oh na, said John Graham, oh na, that one a day. The gallant Grahams have never been beat, we'll see what we can do. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. The fields so thick on Elkie side, oh, 6 strakes you never saw. Her Elkie's sword get clash for clash at the battle o' Harlaw. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. The Highlanders with their claymores, they led on us for sere. Oh, they knocked us back on Elkie's side, sock, our bread thermere. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. Sir Forbes his brother did say, oh, brother, dinna you see, they beat us back on Elkie's side, maybe we'll be forced to flee. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. Oh, na, my brother dear, oh, na, that one a day, you'll take your great sword in your hand, and you'll gang in with me. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. Now back to back the brothers brave, get in among the throng, and they cut down the Highlanders with swords both sharp and long. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. The first 8 strakes are Forbes struck, at guard Lord Donald Reel. The next 8 strake at Forbes struck, the brave Lord Donald fell. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. No second up a lachary, the like you never saw. There was a man, a Highlandman, and they saw Lord Donald fa. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. And Finnis saw that he was dead. They had it gang awa, and they buried Lord Donald like it's den, a mile a been Harlaw. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. 'Twas on a Monday morning that the battle it had begun. It was no sater the glowman, but ye scarce can forehead one. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. Out of 50,000 Highlanders, but 53 get him, and out of the Lowland men, scarce 20 marched away Graham. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. No second a weary burying, oh, the like you never saw. It was on a Sunday morning in the moss and Harlaw. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. If only Highland lassie spears at ye, for them that get awa, we'll their sleeping soon and in their sheen, in a how and Harlaw. Oh, a dermadoo-a-da-dee-oh, a dermadoo-a-dee. That's Harlaw. But it's nae true to fact. There was plenty get him,
Aye.
and
Well, I reckon there was maybe about 10,000 Highlanders and about 2,000 Lowlanders.
maybe more. A lot of London Knights, of course. A lot of Fiddycart in Dundee, the scrimmager of Dundee, was a noted knight, and he was killed in mortal combat with who the hell was it? Oh, maybe mind a minute. And he was buried, his remains was buried at Fiddler Kirk. For they were dug up years later, still was mail and on him.
that
All
right?
Fiddler Kirk, oh, it was just a ruin though, of course.
I'd Irvin a Drum, he was killed in combat with Red Hector McLean.
Oh,
The
well,
battles.
Red Hector of the battles, you see. It's in the drain, they still exchange swords yet, of course.
Every 100 years, I think.
Aye.
It'll be just coming up because it's was 14 or 11,
Aye.
the battle, so it'll be
Aye.
another 2 a year it'll be,
Oh, better
it'll be due for another. Ring.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, well, there's, there was, you see, it's no fun, because it was no form, as I said. There was, there, trying to make out that castle, at the fat been he there, as he come out onto the road. Milkwine.
Bilwyn.
Aye. Well, I can't mind the name of him, but this is the mine. But he had 5 sons, took part in the battle, and they were all killed, including him. And there was even a 15-year-old, took a fork supposed to be get the water ran down the road, and he saw me there come out, no, neither run tea, and they gone. That was supposed to be the words he used, the Arnold's have been a he. The runty's nae gone. He was going to war with him, you see, but they never come back, they were all killed.
They're all killed.
But they were all unpopular, no, and they said it didn't care any difference. A hell of a popular clan out, it was not Milkwine Castle.
Aye, it's only Lord Provost Aberdeen.
A lot of province was killed, aye.
He was still only
He
Provost.
had the citizens, but the citizens were nice against that, lads. They were soft, you see, hopeless.
Well, chaps, what do you think?
Wonderful.
Brilliant, really brilliant.
Anything else you need to touch on?
I don't think so, because it's kind of covered all in
The
ballads
horses. The horses was a great period though, and the stallions used to come round, you see, and to save all them years in the summertime, and they'd all the fancy names, and if you delved into their pedigrees, they all come for the same Lanarkshire area, they all get back to the breeding. My father had a book in the pedigrees every year, for you call that book again, the foals and horses. He had them every year, a great pile, and they were sealed in this rope, and I bought them 6 or something. My father's rope was sealed. I bought them, it a hell of a stock of them, and I get them to folk who just need them just. Yeah, interested in horses, because there's all the pedigrees you get back for a twine a year. You know, the latest every year you can. And, but they do names like Kismet and Craigie Astrologer and all the fancy names. And Craigie Astrologer was quite dear, because what do you call that? The stallion, it was bred, he was, Craigie Astrologer was his son, but he was 100 guineas to serve with a stallion. He got kicked with a year in 1914 and broke a fetlock here and had to be put down. And his skeleton is still on display in Glasgow Museum here.
I've seen it.
Aye.
I've seen that.
Aye.
You can still see for it
Aye.
being broken.
Aye.
I can't remember the name of it.
My father's had either his mayor's daughter of his, and he got a good fall off of her, but she was off a fast and she would have bitten you. Of course, Craig Strollers beast was off her. They were good workers, but didn't cross them, otherwise they would have rebutted back again.
Was there often folk got hurt working with horses? Because I mind
Kick it out of hen was the main thing. But the blacksmiths was the boys. There was one blacksmith here at always Williquanty and he was at Leitrim, Smitty, in his young day. And he got there just after the war finished. He come down for, he served his time on horses, shoeing only, in the Elgin. And and then when he was finished his time, he says, that's me finished with them, I'm leaving now. And he get a lot of money in Dufton, and he drank up out that money, so he came to this man, he had a relation of somebody, he put him on to, so he took his motorbike down to Leitrim. And when he got down here, he was feet alright, but he's fine colour and tie and I think well dressed. And this lad was gone about like a apex, black up and down. When he got into Chalmer up above the Smitty, and he says, you're not going to do in the bed, just the double bed between the two of them, like a lot of did in those days. You're not going to lie in the blankets and stay tight, kind of, you? Fit wild as me 7 in the morning, he thought he was a very screwy guy, so he was. And after him, he'd get down and tell the bidder, you see, he's the last bidder. And she get him off and doing up and already chased his place the day before, he to do it again and wash himself. And he said, why he washed was, heat up a pail of water, they heated him in a pail of water in the fire, extremely fire, and with blue soak, just a blue soak plug in, that's why he heated water.
Just
Blue soak, heated blue soak in the fire and flunked in because the fire, one when they melted off, you see, if you put down the fire, because it was, anyway, that's why he washed his face, and that's why others would lads wash their face. That's what he started on, and he still me. He was the 5th son, the 5th generation of blacksmiths, and his father was a blacksmith. In fact, he was never the same when he come back from Gallipoli. He was a blacksmith shoeing horses and there. His father was never the same again. And he was taught, never touch a horse. Don't you ever smack a horse. I've seen blacksmiths did. When the horse, never do it, you'll never shoe a horse again properly. He used to twist buggy roll and I think he says it give him like it that with black trickle pieces for heel and off. They like it that you see. The horse says he got confident with him. And he got all the good horses to even the stallions, he says. Because of the great belief in him. And he's gotten on to young buggers, he says, it tried the head back of the horse. He says, don't you dare in my presence. He never did that. He says that I'll get up the smithy, that's what they did in my young day. You get up the smithy for all the click of the day, you see, and there was nothing else. It was until I went to shop at my breaks up. They get the smithy and get that through and then use it next, nothing else to do. And the quiet with this next. But he says all the click began to smithy. It was just, what the hell was it was a pea shooter when it started off, and it was a cannonball by the time it was there in the street. Before he was employed there, he said it was a cannonball before I got up the street. But I believe that. But the day click the day, if I'd hit rocks, and you they were off frightened the folk. It was an up and down turn if you heated your stalks of corn. Your corn had to be ripe and it had to be bristling. If you put it in damp or near ready, it had been a bad time and you started, well, we had to get on with it, but it was no use, you see. It heated and heated and heated and shrunk down like this. And your corn, you couldn't thrash because it was like dung. If you see dung with it, it's just got stuff like that. In the Albany Kent heat rocks, because they were again, you see, and they did that. It was enough of dung come if a farmer had heat rocks. And another.
Is there one they could do kind of a
no, you got to do that about it.
Once it started heating, it was
no use. It was mould white, usually white mould. And the beasts would eat it. And the hens even turned up their noses at the corn, it was so bad. But the only thing you get the same thing is baling hay for the snare ready.
Aye,
it's the same thing, you see.
Oh, it goes health and mouldy.
Oh, you see, that's the worst thing you ever do. But that was their income, the corn and the thrashing mills.
Aye.
Well,
I think that's us.
That was very good.
That's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Do you want to do some questions or notes?
Do you want me to do like?
It's just some of the times when you were speaking, Paul, were both sort of in Jock, so it's just really to do some of your questions. We just both sort of zoomed in at you.
That's all right.
In fact, that's okay. Bron's been taking
wow.
you said.
I hope so. But
Neil, you just continue to run, yeah?
I'm still running.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay, me too. Me too.
You cannot resist
God, I help myself.
a natural
Hang on a sec. Minor adjustment. Yeah.
When you do the member and address, Joe.
You're right, speaking
Aye,
to Jock.
there we are.
No.
Actually, Paul, what you could do as well is there's a few times when Jock was doing a song that was quite funny, and it would have been nice if it cut to you looking at him smiling. Just sort of.
There's quite a few comments that you've made, as you said, laughing, that would be quite good for ones that you're animated with,
Excellent, Bron. That's good. If you could just let Paul know that they are.
So it's just, you want me to rattle off the questions?
Can you tell?
Yes, I don't think you'll be able to read them, but I think it started without a question, but then you sort of because I think you started in about when you were 15 years old in 1940 sort of thing. So, but your first question was what did your father think when the tractors came in?
That was
your first
I
question.
was a waffy place for a tractor in the Fun Hill.
Aye.
Because he kept horses until the end, you see. He kept horses until the end.
You just want me just to say the question?
What we're actually going to do now, Jock, is you've given the answer, and the boys have got your answer, but we're needing to get
the question.
We're needing to get the question now. Okay.
So when Paul asks you, don't answer.
No.
For a second.
Just for a few, just for a little minute, we'll keep quiet. So as I say, that was. What did your father think when the tractors came in?
And what did your father think when the tractors come in, for a start?
Very good.
Excellent, that's the idea, Paul.
Right, then you said...
Well held back, Jock.
Yes, well done.
Well
That's great restraint, that was.
Then you were talking about a gentleman, and you said, is he a German?
Was he a German?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
So just say that.
Yes.
So was he a German?
Sounds funny in isolation, but it'll be
Yeah.
good. No,
It'll be fine,
That's the right
yes.
idea, that's brilliant.
Right, now you'll have to excuse my accent.
Right,
But
okay.
for the next bit, you went. How old were you when you started working with horses?
Right, okay, that's not bad. How old were you when you started working with horses?
Super, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great, Paul.
You don't have to do them all, member, but
Aye.
Oh, right, okay.
not all of them.
Pick with the best.
Some of your faves.
Right, okay.
Favourite questions.
Well, you made a comment about how you plough, so we'll maybe miss that bit out. And you said, so was he a champion ploughman?
Right, okay. So was he a champion ploughman?
Brilliant.
Good.
Brilliant, that's the idea. That's good.
Right, the next
We're
one.
getting all this, Paul.
When do you mind folk doing bothy ballads?
Okay.
And do you-
Sorry, this isn't very professional at all.
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
fine.
Fun do you mind folk actually doing bothy ballads?
Excellent. Thank you.
Then there was some comments.
You're loving it, Paul.
It was something about something that it would be worth something now. I've forgotten what I didn't write down what
That's
it
probably the
was.
Stradivarius.
The Stradivarius,
Oh,
that was right.
Aye.
It would be worth something now. That was a lot of money in those days.
Aye.
So
Aye, that's good.
Well, it'd be worth some of it. It'd be worth a fair bit of money now, because that's just the other question, I think.
okay. What about it? Was it Scottish fiddle music?
So that was to do with the kind of fiddle music Dickie played, I think. Okay. What kind of music was it they played? Was it like a Scottish fiddle music, like a Skinner stuff.
Maybe do that once more, Paul.
Right. Aye, what kind of fiddle music was it they played? Was it Scottish fiddle music, like a James Scott Skinner type of fiddling?
That's quite good.
Yeah.
Could you bracket the ones that he does, by the way, so as we can...
Oh, right, okay.
Just sorry.
Pressure.
Sorry. And can you juggle at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, no bother. Could you give us an example of a bothy ballad?
Could you get? I keep doing. Could you? To start.
All right, okay.
It sounded really natural.
Ah, that's good.
Could you give us an example of a bothy ballad?
Brilliant.
Good.
Yeah.
And then you, Jock was speaking about Willie Allen at Inverneithon, and so at the end of that you said, oh dear, I don't know what that word is. Fu muckle would they have something them? Fu muckle would they have spent? Oh
Go and
dear.
help her out, Ronnie.
Just like a star at Paul. Fu muckle, something beginning with an S. Fu muckle would they have sped them? Sped them?
Yes.
S-P-E-D.
Nah, must be
No,
spent.
spent, maybe, or
Oh, fu muckle would they have spent them?
oh, spent on them, maybe. And I've
From
That's
That's-
Wait a minute, Brad, but
Okay.
anyone's like that could just skip.
right. Okay. Then Jock said about the bossy ballad and fivey. Then you said the cello. I've seen a photo of this.
I says, aye.
Aye, Francie.
The big violin,
Aye.
did you say?
Mm.
Oh, a cello. I've seen that photo.
Brilliant.
Good, and a good drum solo as well.
Yes.
What's the main difference between bossy ballads?
So what's the main difference between bothy ballads and the kind of the older ballads, the kind of narrative ballads?
Brilliant.
Good job.
And then that Jock said about how it started and things. So I've written a note here that maybe you should have asked how it started, because I think we did it. I think you did do it somewhere actually afterwards when you asked him how it was started, but that might have been a good one for there, because instead of that. But anyway,
No, I think that's good what Paul said.
yeah. Can you give us some examples of the older ballads?
Could you give us an example of one of the older ballads that you were speaking about?
Excellent.
Then you made comments on the fact that Logie was where the battle was. A big battle, but I...
Oh, I was grumpy,
Yeah.
she said.
Oh, aye,
Oh,
Logie Dunno.
Aye.
So I don't know whether you wanted to say, but you actually just made comments about that, so...
Why, Logie Dunno, that was for the Battle of Mons Graupius was.
Aye. Very good.
Super.
So you diddle as well then?
There's no answer to that.
So you diddle as well?
Once more, Paul.
So you did...
Once more, Paul. No pressure.
So you diddle as well?
Okay with that, no?
And then Jock did his diddle, and then you made a comment that there was no instruments, so would they dance to the diddle dum?
Okay.
There was no instruments, so would you dance to the diddle dum?
So when you diddled, would that have been when you didn't have instruments at hand, you would have danced to the diddling?
Brilliant.
Does that make sense?
Very good.
Yes.
Almost there?
Right, nearly. Then Jock was speaking about the Hearst.
Hearst.
Sorry. Was this something done when the Hearst was done?
Aye, that would have been the loft dances, I think.
Mhm.
That's what it was. So would that have been something that was done at the end of the hairst, or did this happen just right through the whole year?
That was good because you come in within the summer as well. So would they have Would they have whiskey or something like that?
Would they have drunk whiskey, the like of that? Was rubbish.
Once more, right?
Would they have drunk whiskey at the like of that?
That's good.
Then you were speaking about that stuff that you didn't like that you had when you were at the. But you.
So and so.
Yeah. So you wouldn't get anybody would take that treat now. So whatever that was called, I just put questions marks.
Oh.
So you wouldn't get anybody to eat
To
that
take
treat
turns,
now.
Okay. So you wouldn't get anybody to
Eat.
eat so-ins.
No.
That's be fine, yeah.
Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you wouldn't have got. You wouldn't. So you wouldn't. Sorry. So you wouldn't get anybody to eat so-ins nowadays. I can't remember if I said that.
Do you eat so-ins?
Aye.
Ah, okay.
Aye, well, because they'll get slick
it's
of
a big
jelly,
meal.
almost sets.
I honestly wouldn't have made it up.
Sounds like me there.
And then you asked Jock, can you mack it now?
Can you mark it now?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Aye.
Yes, can Jock.
Can you mark it now?
Right, we're nearly there. Then after that, you asked, did you learn this through other people? So I think that was about the singing, the ballads and things.
So when you were learning ballads, would this have been you learning it as you were growing up, hearing it from other folks singing it?
Very good.
Good.
How many songs do you ken yourself?
So how many songs do you think you would ken yourself?
100.
How have you been picking up stuff as you went along?
Mhm.
So, and then you spoke about Willie Kemp.
Okay.
Um,
Have you picked up stuff right the way through your life, or is it mainly stuff that you learnt when you were younger?
you then made a comment that perhaps Willie Kemp, when he changed the words of the song, he did it to make it more accessible to the English.
Aye. Do you think that Willie Kemp maybe kind of anglicised the words a wee bit to maybe make it more accessible to whether it was a Lowland or an English audience?
Good. You asked him if you have you got a favourite?
Was that both
A bossy ballad, yeah, a ballad. Have
Right.
you got?
Have you got a favourite bothy ballad or narrative ballad?
Then you made a comment about to help him find Walter Scott because there was talking between you, which I couldn't sort of, but so that's probably in anyway, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, let's, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
and about being buried in Monymusk, and then you asked. Now I've put what it's Scots Border songs. What was it? Sorry, was it Scots Border songs?
Just was it Scots Borders?
Yes, because I think we were talking. This is in the sort of chat,
Oh.
and then he,
Was it
Jock said
Scots
something-
Border Minstrelsy? I think was what I said. I
Ah, right.
think.
Okay.
Aye. I think that's.
Okay, will you say whatever you think there then?
I was at Scots Border Minstrelsy.
And then you said, will you give us one of those big uns to finish off? And Jock said, yes, the Battle of Harlow.
So will you guess one of your big ballads just to finish up?
Excellent.
Very good. And do you want to do a thank you for
And
just in case?
Okay.
Was there
just, no, just a minute. Then there was, yes, Battle of Harlow lasted half an... Right, and then you said something about the Lord Provost being killed.
Aye.
And you also said you've seen the horse picture in Glasgow.
Mhm.
And then you asked, was there often folk that got hurt with horses?
That's, yeah.
And was there anything they could do with it?
So, but do you want me just to say?
So
the first is a bit conversational. So
Yes, the Lord
Maybe
Provost.
was there people got hurt?
And you've seen it. Was there often folk that got hurt with horses?
Was there often folk get hurt when they were working with horses?
You've done way too good a job of this. Probably.
Well, I was just wondering as well that you're sitting in the same position, whereas when you were talking, you were moving about. So, another question, you'd perhaps be in a different position. Or do you want to in the same?
We're cutting away for Jock all the time. So
Okay, all right,
it
that's
doesn't really
fine.
matter too much.
Right, and well, was there anything they could do with it? Is what you said after the horses, but I don't know what the it was.
I can believe that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
okay. And the very last one was, it goes hell of a mouldy.
Aye. Well, it goes hell of a mouldy.
I didn't tell you with the Mockra George's Bayer. Well, I came to George Thompson's stuff when he died, you see. And I'm sure it included what was a Mockra George's Bayer that Eddie Rose, it was on the Stewart song. Diddle diddle dee diddle diddle dee. Great lot of long verses and making that rollicking song. They song at Morris did, you see. Morris did a good Mockra George's Bayer. The grep was then the bishop was then and at that speed, you see, but on the Stewart in different ones, you see. Well, Eddie Rose was a disciple on the Stewart, and he sings his. No, I'm sure it included was that was the Mockra George's Bayer. It was composed by George Bruce Thompson, who went down in 1914. But he could all stuff, Wally Kemp, and he changed. He got a lot of tunes. Some of the tunes is his, you see. Wally Kemp composed tunes to his songs. But not the same as it was before. He changed them.
He adopted them.
He maybe made them good, better. Because Wally Kemp sung a song the first time he was in the stage in Aberdeen. It was at Kirk Hall. And the minister came off and stopped him and pulled him off because he thought he didn't care what he was saying and he thought it was gross language that his audience shouldn't be hearing. Nor get the greatest fun and laughing and didn't like that, you see.
You can't enjoy yourself like that.
It was it was a hell of a good song. I think myself and mine and they would. Fiddle flute, get the flute, fiddle diddle, get the fiddle, they get reeling and again up and down the middle, a jingering and round about like silly tune a riddle at the bottom of McGinnis this cross-side bed. The fiddler he came down the Hoof of men's but that's good his fiddle it was clogged up about the glue but the fiddle it got paralysed the fiddler he get dotty at the wedding of McGinnis this cross-side bed. It said who had a songy fair laddie called McCara. he tried his way busy with some Catarara. He came there upon a bicycle, but him upon a barra at the one of this cross-side bed. You see, this is for do singing, and the minister pulled him off. Well, it was a judge who stops and song, you see. It he got so much stuff he got. It was amazing, eh?
Aye.
Do you know the Sappy Sukkar song?
Eh?
The Sappy Sukkar song?
I didn't again, no.
Oh, right, okay. See, I thought you know that.
Can I ask a
Sappy
You cut a Sappy song.
Well, that's a poem. That's Charles Murray. He cut a Sappy Sukkar for a muckle rodent tree.
Oh, he was a good lad, Murray.
My grandfather used to sing that to me.
Oh,
So. Never mind. I never knew the end.
Did he do recitations? Did he
Aye.
like a poems?
Oh,
or
and
something?
he, I had a great regard for J.C. Mellican. He was a great Buchan poet. He became a headmaster, but he still continued his poetry. And he used to work as a laddie when he was a student as an alone. I wouldn't be an alone for all the world's gear. I wouldn't be an alone, had rather stick to leer. Pooing nips with hocket hands, scraping dubs with Shauna Kai. Houking holes to be out, redding midden drains voorbij. Dichting moeswabs off the rigging, spitting wivers from my bow. Vecheren with footlight beeling, scrubbing harder, scarling so. Driving fat down to the market with bream bus for a staff. Blawing, pjochen, hachen, sneezing, full on chammer, beds of cough. Sjouwen long and drie kneep drills, jarken on the hinne grief, wishing over means or helle, never rowing up a sleeve. Wassling sair with shaves and thistles, swearing like a crocodile, standing at the kitchen table, spoken stobies for my thumb. What the hell happens now? Reesting on a load of reekers of Mr. Javiers. Reesting on a load of cutting green corn for the milkers, blood and all the good scythe, blade till it grieve, gain gateway fury, swears you'll drone me in the lead. Was reesting on a load of reckons, that gets diced in our steens, maybe tumbling, heelster, gaudy, bracken, bathe my collar beans. Boudoir, fallen in the devil, having totties in a skull, with my frosted fingers dabbling like a shockers of a mull. Right, sleeping in a cauldrift chamber, for his nacht but candle licht, walking with the rotans rattling in the riggings of the nacht. Rising in the morning early long afore his screeching cock, sitting at the kitchen table steering bros at 6 o'clock. I wouldn't be an hour alone for all the world's gear. I wouldn't be an hour alone, I'd rather stick to leer.
I've never heard that, you know.
I seen his daughter died the other day. She's quite an old woman, but she died of something like cancer.
By J.C. Mill.
Oh, his daughter. She was quite an old woman. That's J.C. Mill's braid buchan.
You have to, I have to really listen hard.
Well, it's you see, braid buchan was it's fairly a broader dialect. Then you get to Aberdeen, now the different Tory twang is entirely different. And the youngsters always judging youngsters in Sistrichen, and I couldn't have put a word that the Aberdeen Queens was saying. They were rolling their words and they weren't speaking broad like it used to be long ago. As far as didn't again. It's maybe their schooling is the I don't know what or television is. It's maybe all this stuff and look into TV.
I think that's probably more to do with it.
The eens had come down van Drumblad, over Westlaster, till what a broad they were. And the eens out St. Combs, they were far ahead of all the rest.
You get a different, the accent's different at the coast
Oh, well, it's a fish at Dwang. It's in Gomes, it's good fish at Dwang. I can spot them right away.
Uh-huh.
But Keith is off a bread again.
Uh-huh.
But I was off a place that judge of the week critters, both the bullets, it was 3 come in, Duke Wise, of course, but it was 3 come in, and there was one of them, 10-year-old, and they done it both the glaze, naked arms a lot again, and the bonnet twisted over here in the sleeved waistcoat, and he took out a clay pipe, and he puffed like a just been on his puffing, and he took it out his mouth. As I was only 10-year-old, he left the Paris squeal, the great singer. And the other 2 was just the same. And I gave him a prize, of course. And he said, "What was my son? This was an English chap that was living up here, and the load was as braid as could be. I was absolutely delighted." Oh, I says, he's amazing. That's awful good.
And did he speak with an English accent?
No,
normally.
there was no English to be heard. It was teaching him to school. Somebody was teaching him to school. It was so good.
That's just outside Huntly then at Drumblade.
Is that right?
Aye, Drumblade's just. Aye, you're only about
Drumblade was a good, aye.
That's right. It's about
They
4
put
miles.
there's a bit of buckle down tea.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Ian Middleton was judging the poetry at Strickland. And it was only the 12-year-olds when it come to dinner time at 12 o'clock.
It's aye.
Only the 12-year-olds.
It had that many entries.
It was aye. And I just passed over a ticket to him, and I says, "This look when shaves through a stem mall," I says. We had to be quick about it.
Aye.
But it was easy to judge, really. But a lot of them was awful good with his poems, and he didn't want to judge his poems. That was the trouble, you see. As for I come out, okay.
Oh, aye.
Aye. My sister, it was my sister, she was left to the other because my mother died, you see, when I was about 14. And my sister, she was a workhorse, she was only a year older than me. And it was so much for her, so we got her an Agger, you see, and Agger was fine, handy.
Aye, make things a bit easier.
But all that was the only beats. There are a lot of work at beats.
Mind you, there's more folk going back to Pete
My
now.
father could big a stock, it had to be big and dry. And there must have been about 60, 70 cart load get in here. There are horses, of course, we didn't have tractors at that time. Must have been odd. The first tractor I saw, it was 1934, I think, I'm sure it must have been a green Fortune. Must have been a green Fortune. That was the first thing I saw in a neighbouring farm, a Burrell seat. It was about 250 acre. And Jimmy on the native bit confused the rock on, they said he was a relation, you see, but he was rough enough. But by goodness, he was a great worker. He sat in our thing with bogey roll all the time, run about. They hoods on the thing again.
Well, I know, I'd been noisy.
Oh, noisy brutes.
Aye.
So it's the first time I saw him.
If it did like a year further than that, I think, when the tractors come in for a start, did they think it was a great thing, or were they just not impressed with them?
Well, I was away, you see. I thought it was a great thing this was, so I joined up at 18 when I was old enough. 1943 was the winter the mess, I think. And that's the time the tractors started coming in. When I come back, I merely stayed a wee while at Fairman and went off to something else, you see. Temporarily come back. But they have, I says, Dad, and there was a farmer, he was a far off relation, he was needing a lad to work up, to yoke a pair of clips. There were 3-year-old Clydesdales, bonny block in a broon, you see. And I had him yoke it in that time, and it was blowing with him. Because I got to tell her, I said I had a job. When the war finished, I wanted folk out, but not until I had a job. But the first things it was I had to go out first, and I was in the last days, 1943, you see. So they said,
have you a job, boy? Have a job. Well, we'll get you out. So I got out, you see, in January 1946, and I got out to this pier. And it was a novice. At a hell of a time we had been to this place, about 15 mile away. And they're biking because it was a novice now. And when I got there in the chamber, it was 3 hours. There was this great big lad, he turned out a recht dope Herman. They got him, you see. And I says, you're there square head, are you? Oh, yeah, he says.
I'd be a German.
And he was a recht dope. So the Bailey, he was there, and then the rest was good. That was 2 good, you see. So you got this pair of horses, they were a recht pair. And I blew to them. And then for the summer approach, you see, you don't do their things. They planted dotties. Now tractors in that time were useless at hopping up, at furring up dotties. They were all right for furring up the first fur. But they couldn't hop them in, the dotties had to need reel. And it required, they hadn't to split the reel, it required a pair of horses to go up and split them to cover the dotties, you see.
So even if you'd had a tractor, you would have not a pair of horse to go in up a it.
Well, they did know, you see, they could do everything at one go because they're plotters now. But they couldn't a tractor wheel when they bind up with reels. You see, to split them with 3 reels, you see. Put up 3 reels, they poured in the dotties because they were for seed, little dotties. And this was the first of the Majestic, 1946. For English market, and they were big soppy brutes. They weren't to eat it all. They poured them in with their hands, 3 lads in the back of a tractor, flung them in with their hands, they weren't for just little wee seed. And they didn't worry, because it didn't lie ground. And when they were started, I got to start with the horses. They got off at a hell of speed, because they'd never seen this. You never get a wheel, you see, just to be, you have to judge the depth all the time. It took about 5-6 times up and down before they slowed down. And then the next throw I made, it struck a big steen and they plugged it up there, the shaft broke here. And they plugged it up there and fell over and nearly the horses. I got a right scare with the stew there. The stew there. Well, it took 2 days to eat an acre.
So, how old was you when you started working with horses?
Well, I mind getting the first herd at 8 years old. The foreman says, we're brewing lay here, come home from school, you see, and say, you like a hard eye? And he goes, he's just thinking here. With a wheel, you see, and you just, the horses just read a right pair that time. Slow it down.
I thought that if you were ploughing with horses, you needed a fair bit of strength to keep the plough down. You didn't? I thought you'd need to keep the weight
it's
down.
It's the wheel in the front holds you at the right depth all the time. You see, which you didn't get in a drill plough because it's soft ground. They can't put on a wheel, you have to judge the depth. But it's at the same level all the time. And all you need to do is sideways. Because it doesn't dig in, it doesn't come out, it just bites level because it's set as well with the teeth, you see, the teeth and the swingle trees is in the plough. I can't mind all names for the settings of the plough, but you could set them down and so as it would be half easy to hold, you know. We were digging in all the time, it was sailing the wheel too, because it would have dug in. But then you didn't need a cutter. We like one. You just cut it. And they were like ploughed to a depth of 6 inches. Well, that's the way I was a hundred of weeds, was never deep enough. And the ploughing match boys only did about 5 inches deep. My father was off a fussy at ploughing. He was a ploughing down, what you got ploughing down again. Won a cup and that. And
so he was a champion ploughman?
Aye, champion ploughman. one copse and that. But I didn't manage to keep on now. The rest of the family, there's 6 of us, you see. The rest of the family managed to grab all of him.
So, fan do you mind first kind of folk doing singing like a bothy ballads? I mean, I'm assuming that you probably started hearing
Well,
stuff
with
at
a lot
fairly
of
young age.
relations. A lot of relations. A cousin of my father was a great lad. He could fair sing, and there was a lot of next to that because there was no wireless. I heard my first wireless when I was 14. So my mother bought in. She bought a wireless because the war was on, and her relations and my father's relations and her late sweetheart was killed. He was in the Australians. He was actually a cousin, and she had three cousins get to Australia, Lambs and all. Their name's Lamb. Went to Australia and they all showed up when the war started, and they seen a house go through Gallipoli, and then they were sent to the Western Front. And he come home and he left an awful lot of books, and I was an half annoyed because they'd been flung out when I was a war. With the Australian, their own magazines and all. My mother had all that. But as I said, she died when I was 14. She took meningitis. But she was a great pianist in the house, you see. And like a Dickie and Sutherland and all that boys, if you had to put all them. They used to come to the house, you see, and Willem Duffus was in the drain. Willem, for the same area as Sutherland, he was near Brock. I can't remember the name of his firm, Sutherland. But he had the first, what do you call it, the Stradivarius, you see, in Scotland.
Be worth some money the day if it's still kicking
Oh,
around.
well, his widow sold it for £5,000. It was in 1939, I think, when he died.
That's a lot of money then.
Oh, but the Nickel was in the dream with him.
Harry.
He never come to us, but he had doing all Harry used to be doing when he had the tail in Ruthie Norman, and he also ran the what do you call it, the dinners for the mart. He had a great clientele here, and all the farmers drinking and everything every Wednesday. You see the mart, and another day, I think another day, and Ferguson Ruthie Brisbane was an auctioneer. It was just down the road for them, big farmer auctioneer, and Harry liked the fiddle, you see, and he get Sutherland, he's doing stay a whole week in Sutherland, and Sutherland went up, he liked it to bide in a hotel tea, they played every night, you see. But he never come to Fun Hill because my father and mother didn't ken him, but it was Dickie and Sutherland and Willem Joster. He was a fine lad with slow ears, Joster.
And was it kind of traditional Scottish fiddle stuff they would have done?
Oh,
like
aye.
a
And
Skinner?
then my brother, you see, he was at that time too. He was 3 year older than me, and he got out of the Royal Navy at the age of 15 because he'd been in the Boy Scouts at Metlick, and it was Admiral was in charge of them, and he went to the Royal Navy, and he believed it, you see. He got awarded and joined the Royal Navy. That was in 1936 or something. And well, he survived, and he got on fine. He went all over the world, and he got promoted to lieutenant, and they never did that well, lad. It never was educated. Never did believed in doing that. But he used to bring me and him folk again, and it was the first thing he picked up was a fiddle when he come back, and he'd Willie Foley and some other relations, and Dickie would have been up an extra CD, and they got going with fiddle. He said, my father get on with fiddle music. He says, play so and so. You know, his fit went all the time. But he'd a habit of using to someday and they didn't like that. But what a music he could do. And my brother was him after the war, he lost his wife. He had a hotel down in South England. He lost his wife. What the hell is the something arms? It's in the hotel book. The English old ENs he got the photography. I said the book to me was, and he was back playing the fiddle there again. You see, and all that time he come up. He's lost his wife. 2 years later he married Dickie's daughter. Every Dickie. She was a great ear of the fiddle, and he got all Dickie's all recordings, and Jimmy was still alive of course at that time. He got all his all recordings and they made a mental, he got them all sorted, but he wasn't fussy enough. If he'd waited at the prison there, he would have been a job out. But my brother didn't live long. He took cancer, you see, and died. But it was interesting to see all that. Well, I fully was another fanatic. Well, I fully made violins as well. They made viola till his son, till his, he was married, till his nephew, and he was at the London school, you see, the music, and he showed it to his professor, and he says, "Your uncle must be a very clever fella, but he's not clever enough to make a viola." And he tried it over, and this guy said, "Good, machine." And well, I made another income, and that was even better. And tragically, well, I saw the night before he died, and he says, "My nephew's playing an act, I'm going to be listening." The London Philharmonic Orchestra. And so he'd a stroke that night. Well, nobody gets finished at the end, but he was a great dope and a great historian.
Can you give us an example of a bothy ballad? Or maybe
I'll tell you.
Could you tell us a bit about Fit the War and Fit the War?
Oh, this is a bothy ballad. There was a man, Willie Allen at Crofty at Tifty, just up for the old mill again, and he'd only 15 acre, which he worked extremely well, and I got to ken him off a wheel because I was temporarily back at that time, and I cut at his corn with a Fergie, because well, it saved his beasties there, you see. And got to get him off a wheel, and he was a bit of a singer too, you see, and he taught me in 1904 he was feed him to Muckle Camalowan, his foreman, and the beast say a bra beast, so what he says, oh, great beast. And he took him doing the first job he was told to take him to Smithy, because they're not shoeing every 3 months, you see, really, if they're working hard. They're not their feet did it all and shoed, re-wolded and shoed. So it's no new shoes, dee him up, you see, put them back again. So away he went to the Smithy, and that was Inverayton, which was only about a mile from Muckle Camalowan, out to Dandy Road and down. And the grocer's shop just aside it. It's just a butt to the Smithy. They wouldn't even far in the grocer's shop. And well, I says, "What the hell's the day? Come on." No, they just wouldn't budge. And the grocer, he come out again, this is Muckle Camalowan beast. He says, "They get a bottle of porter ale for me." And they get him a bottle of porter ale. And he come with a piece back. Well, I says, "I never seen nothing like it. It was fantastic," he says. And I managed to ken a song years later. It was not for live, but this is Muckle Camalowan. It's about the lad was feed home for the feed market, which was held every 6 months. And he come home to this lads, they had been soaked to bed because they were all there. If you want to soak to bed, you could want to get under their feed. And the farmer never told you if it was a day, like. But most young lads, if they like it to see if it was over the side of the hill, anyway, 6 months was long enough at the place. So this was about the lad that come home, and they couldn't make much on for a file, you see. Now, speaks of going to Cotmore. I've got just a Cotmore bed. And Cotmore's wasn't rough like a lot of the bothies was. The Cotmore's was pretty well spruced up because the kitchen lassie or fevers, what if the kitchen had to dee up the Cotmore, put on the fire to them every day, and they got their food in the kitchen. They got the breakfast, they're down here at 6 o'clock dead, or 5:30 sometimes a year, and then they got their dinner at 12 o'clock sharp. The foreman knock on the door, get in there at 12 o'clock, and they got a good meal. They got broth and if it was ever going, hen soup or knives are going, you see, and pudding. It was ice simulator, of course. That was that's what I hated. Simulator. And jam on top of it, maybe rhubarb jam, handmade rhubarb jam. And then supper had to be 6 o'clock every night. Now, they stop with their beasts at 11 o'clock. The horses had to get 2 hours rest and plenty of food, which is oats, a feed of oats for working, and working beasts, a feed of oats, bruised oats, and maybe a lot of the well, if they're pluming, if they're so pluming, like it to put in linseed oil, you see, linseed them on them, give them a skin. And then
how
it
much
was
oats would they have got? How fumical would they have fed them?
Oh, it was all easy to do. It was, I would have a box here. It was their feed, 3 times a day. And if they weren't working, then I'd eat. Then I gave them oats, because they took us food, hot feed with corn. They can chew it all right, but it's a kind of round by the foot of hoof. It got inflamed. It was corn that did it, but never working. Because our shalt didn't work, and I didn't get much corn. I just got a handful. It was down, man, would it be? The shalt was a big pony for pulling the sledge or the gig. Because with their cars or nothing. I get the kirk at that time in the 30s. The gigs was all lined up at the kirk, and it's stables, a line of stables for the horses as well to get to. You had no idea. And you know why this has come along. At Darvis parish that I can fay, I tell you that I am some way. For there is a log diamond gate to the 5 lands in the morning. I'd come alone, I did arrive, a pair of horses for to drive. And elky morning up at 5, do to ca the fun in the morning. At first when I to camels come, I cried out, here's our new man. And to gaze at me they all begun in the 5 lands in the morning. In the wheel began to sleep, and the foreman he began to creep. Out of his bed he sprang to his feet, cries, lost boys, rise, for it's morning. To ca the fun they set me tea, which I began reckonally, and took a look for they would do in the 5 lands in the morning. The windwing being passed and the fan beset, the foreman cries and he some met. At the head of the table, 8 in his seat, says, 8 boys, 8 for this morning. You'll yoke your horses fast as you may. The foreman unto me did say, get a plough out over the brae, that'll police ye well in the morning. I hadn't been long at the plough, and I began to cook and spew. Well, the night afore I'd been some fool, say I had a doughy morning. Wi' a belly stout and stark, man, it sets him well to work his work. Out o'er his head it draws a sark, as long as I'm sell in the morning. Or Kitchy cooks his negre dale, I think I would do as weel mysel. She marks her breed as green as kale, in the 5 lands in the morning. The dairy maid, she is some shy, at the bailey lad when he gangs by. When she gangs out the milk her kye, by grade licht in the morning. 5 parishes long and wide, 5 perishes for a pride, in the same corner on the longer bide, can I had what's in the morning. I know I've told you clear and fair about the 5 lance rare, and if anybody about me inquire, you can tell him I left in the morning. Now at Willerland, it was swimming here. He was the finest scyther I've ever seen. It was an area scythe, working a scythe, get. And he set it himself, got blacksmithing, he could set it himself, because it had to be recht tilt, you see. And he took 6 feet wide, is down to that depth, and all the grain and corn and stalks was exactly lined, there wasn't one twisted, it was just exactly lined. Now, I've scythed for years, but I thought I was going to be a great scyther in my youth, because I used to, the 15, 16 year old, they had to get grown all outside the binders, going to make nothing. You see, the horses had to get a clear run, and you had 6 feet wide of the scythe to clear away, put out the sheaves and let up against the dike all the way around the park. Otherwise, the horses would have been tramping them on. And he was a master. He was a master, and he was in the old days when they had to cut it. You can, in his young day, would have cut at the park an acre a day. They said that an acre a day didn't go. Somebody, two people, 2 lasses or somebody to gather behind him. You see, to put him at the sheaves and stuck him. It was young folk again. And lasses was employed in the old days too, and it took him to clear away. Otherwise, they would have been left behind if it would have been 2 folk. I could keep up to somebody, but you had to move fast. And I was a great hand at making a sheaf when I was young, but a good man. And I've seen one place that I saw, a great big man. And you'd have thought you would have thought he'd be awful good at this. We had a dear laddie coming ahead, and he's to make way for him soon, you know, because a little laddie just made short work of it. He was an expert. He said the expert he uses the way to scythe properly, and the next thing is sharpness. The blade. If you're not keen blade, you're finished. You have to have a keen blade here. And that lads could do 100 yards before it was a long cob around them at length, broad like my arm. It was that kind of cob around them that weird. These that come in my day was short, stumpy things that just the hard stone, you see, cob around them stone. They didn't like that. They had the it's like silver paper, sandpaper laid on top of big flat sheets. That's what they preferred. It was like that, but it was same material.
Aye.
But what amazing! You've no idea. What amazing! And as I say, the only lad that ever managed 2 acre a day, or did more than 1 acre a day, which was it's a good cut for a man. A good man does an acre a day. But it was Francie Marcus, and Francie Marcus could do 2 acre. And he was finished before everybody else, but he was a remarkable man, of course. Francie Marcus a bite. I have a photograph of him. And he was a musical man, but he could play the what you call it, the big fiddle.
Oh, the cello. I've seen a photo of him.
It'll probably be at me if they put it in the paper.
I've seen it.
And my mother belonged to by she's the tale about Francie Marcus. He come to the kirk and he was as dressed as could be. Every Sunday he'd come to kirk. He was never married, of course, but he was an athlete, a tremendous athlete. He won every race. He won every race at the local games, the Garmin games, and he get up he get up, and he never bothered taking off his boots. He get up to what do you call it, Foggy Loan. And he won 5 years running, and they banned him. He said, no, you're there running again. He come up again, and no, you've won nothing, but you're not getting nothing. Just a little money, but a shilling, you see. It was a prize. A shilling was quite a day's work at that time. And all right, he says, I'll just run with him. And he ran with him and beat him still, and of course he wasn't in the race, so it didn't matter. But he did run with him. He didn't even bother to get off his boots.
No.
He's a remarkable man, but he tried to race the train, the train didn't work. The first train line, the booking line come out, you see, and it was the booking line, and somebody tried to say it was the 5E Macduff line, but it wasn't. It was the booking line. And he tried to race with it, and of course he got Dean, you see. He was going to race the mod for I think it was acclaimed or somewhere. He got the race.
How far is it between?
Oh, it's 3 mile.
3 mile.
Oh, but no, he did get Dean. But he says, if I had done was a bite or gear a red face.
So that was a bothy ballad you gave us. What's the main difference between a bothy ballad and like if they call it big ballads, kind of like a Millet Tifties or a battle?
Well, the rings are ancient, that's why. Bothy ballads was a thing of the we get past. The horses come in, let's face it, in the 1780s, and the Duke of Hamilton took over the first Persian, the first Persian stallion for Belgium. There was a 50 Persians in Belgium. They were the Persian horses. They were big, working, big, strong beasts. And he took over the first stallion for the year. They started breeding. The Duke of Hamilton, of Lady Hamilton fame, she took up with Napoleon and all that, named Napoleon.
Nelson.
Wellington.
Nelson.
Wellington, took up with Wellington. It was going to be Nelson. It could have been Nelson to you.
Just a gay lady.
It could be Nelson, Oh, well, he ignored that. He was a great farmer, you see, great estate man. And he improved his horses, and for a year, they worked out at Clydesdale. And I mean, Kilpatrick's, a Lanarkshire, Kilpatrick's, I can't remember the name of their place. They were great breeders. And I mean, every year, well, they say the foals paid the rent, you see. So we did 2 or 3 foals every year off the Clydesdales. And my father was a great breeder and one of them. You see, he did a champion, and he did a first or a second coulter filly, first or a second. And my job for the age 80, but the first time I got in was to have a foal in Aberdeen. It was 30 mile to my bricks, and you had to be a side of Cartown was far loaded off the midden. There was 10 or 12 foals get in, and the 10 or 12 mothers had to be laid there in the dead of night, 3 o'clock in the morning, to be dead there at the loading, because the foals were the gingham sale, and the bidders, they were frantic, you see, they had to try and get the foals away in an hour, which did succeed, but the bloody bidders nearly killed them. Because the last, the Rafa protected their foals. But each were an hour, it was all right. And my job was one of the many. I was the youngest that he'd had me, though. It was our men, or grown-ups, it was hunting the foals. But I held on to mine every year. I goes good dollar next year, and I enjoyed that. And I mean, it was about the first time you got a hell of a good dinner at the mart at the bailment. It was, I think it belonged to Reuben Lang's or something, that place. And you got to find a steak out. We never had to find a steak out at here. Well, look, I've got a bit of boiling beef once a week, that's all you got. And with a hair, maybe, an old hair, plug it in.
I think what I need is just take a break for a minute.
We've got a battery change to do.
All right. Okay.
That's really super though.
I'm gonna just nip to the lobby then.
Yes.
But I'll take this opportunity.
Are you want me to run in a second?
No, it's fine.
I'll run in a second. I'll do a clap to the same thing. Are you still rolling, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the legs going this way.
There you go. Something like that.
Aye.
Okay, so stop this.
Okay, okay.
Okay.